Joining me now to discuss this are the American author Michael Wolff from New York and in Manchester, Hayden Hewitt, the co-founder of the citizen journalist website liveleak. Michael Wolff, did something socially significant happen in America today, or is it another gun-related tragedy, albeit in novel or unprecedented circumstances?
Well, I think it is obviously another, but I think it's also something more. It's another escalation of the perversity of violence. Now, I think we can say violence is always in its way perverse, but what we are learning is that there are actually higher and higher levels of this, and maybe because of technology, or because of this new idea that we have of the public sphere, anyone can have access to it. So whereas before murder, and I mean this not at all humorously, was a private, something that happened in private. Now it is more and more something that happens in public. Again, a level of perversity.
Is that perverse, though, because almost every other aspect of existence is now recorded and broadcast in a way that wouldn't have been true 5, 10 or 20 years ago? Why should crime, even violent crime, be any different?
Well, I think it probably changes the nature of crime. That what we're talking about is something really about personal attention. It's not even about violence anymore. It's just using violence as a way to say, look at me.
Hayden Hewitt, the killer says, look at me, and a website such as yours acquiesces, agrees, makes his wish come true.
Yeah, well, originally it was uploaded to a different site and made its way to ours. And currently we're under an incredibly heavy load because mainstream media is sensationalizing it, making the videos sound far more graphic than they are, and people are going to look.
That's probably not entirely fair. It's not a decision by mainstream media to describe it in words that are inaccurate.
I didn't say it was a decision, it's how you do things. We've seen it before with the ISIS beheading videos that were described as incredibly graphic when they weren't, even though we wouldn't show them. We see it over and over again. It's run with for weeks on end. Nothing's ever changed. Violence hasn't changed.
Well, wait a minute. But wait a minute. You're the one who's posting this online, and you're blaming someone else?
I'm not blaming anybody. I'm saying just,
well, yeah, actually, that's just what you did.
No, it isn't. I said we're under heavy load.
But at any rate, let me get this.
If you're going to level an accusation,
one moment.
If you're going to level an accusation, let someone answer. It's clearly the polite thing to do.
Hayden, carry on.
Well, the polite thing is not to post a video of someone being murdered.
Michael, I just want to hear his rationale for doing it before we hear more of your reaction to the decision.
We've seen more graphic things on television, on the evening news, far more. Every day we see videos from different countries around the world and nobody cares until it's a Western journalist.
This is about the context, not the content. No one disputes the fact that terrible atrocities...
What's different about the context?
Well, I'll tell you, the man who filmed it did the crime.
That hasn't happened before?
Not in this sort of circumstance, no.
Really?
Well, you're welcome to tell me another occasion where a live television broadcast has been interrupted by a gunman filming himself.
What you've done is posted a snuff film. You understand that, don't you?
That's not true in the slightest.
Did you post it? What we've seen is someone killing someone else. That's called a snuff film.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Otherwise, many of us would be guilty of
I'm waiting to see what it is then. What
definition of snuff is murder for titillation and excitement. I've never seen any evidence that such a thing exists.
The modus operandi of live leaks is citizen journalism. That's the phrase you employ. Is this, you dispute Michael's description of it as a snuff movie. Explain to me how it's citizen journalism.
People are sharing things that clearly other people wish to see.
A murderer in this case? In
this case, yes, a murderer.
So it's murderous journalism, or murderer. I mean, citizen and murderer become synonymous under this analysis.
I think what you're trying to do is make something out of this.
You don't see yourself as the tool of the murderer here? No, of course you'll say you don't. But you are the tool of the murderer.
We're not where he uploaded it to, and regardless, the guy's dead. What they did, the tool of the murderer, so we shouldn't see anything that evil people share or film or put out there. Is that what you're saying now? I don't understand your rationale, let alone mine.
Do you have fears of emulation? Do you have fears of copying? I mean, some of the reasons for not broadcasting all of the terrorist atrocities that we've reported recently, whether they may somehow act as a warped inspiration to people.
Anything could. If someone's going to carry out these despicable, horrific acts, they're going to do it. I don't think a video will encourage them to do it.
Michael Wolff,
there's no proof that
yes.
that actually works.
Michael, you're not suggesting that this crime would not have happened if the camera hadn't been there, are you?
I am absolutely suggesting that this crime would not have happened if the camera was not there. And by the way, there are two cameras, so it has a double kind of perversity.
Of course, one on the head of the shooter, and the other, of course, filming the broadcast that was interrupted.
I think that there's every reason to believe that the reason this happened the way it happened is that so it could be filmed and it could be distributed by your other guests.
Hayden Hewitt, if there's even the slightest possibility that crimes like this are only committed in not just the expectation but also the knowledge that organisations like yours will broadcast it, surely you just stop.
If we could have at least get two scientists, people peer research to agree on that fact, maybe everybody would.
Why do you think he filmed his crime?
Because he wanted everyone to see what he did. This is nothing new. It's the same as the ones that take mementos, that photograph everything. Jeffrey Dahmer took extensive photographs of what he did.
Yeah, but hold on.
There's technology that allows them to share.
Those photographs are there for their own sick reasons.
Yeah, but
you're now supplying this you're making this into public spectacle.
That's not exactly anything new either, is it?
You're doing, well, of course it is. Take some responsibility, man.
Well, hang on. Well, of course, it's never historically been a spectacle. Murder, never historically been a spectacle.
Well, other people have taken responsibility. I mean, it's not just what you describe as mainstream media that has balked at the prospect of doing the murderer's bidding. Twitter and Facebook, of course, took down the posts almost as quickly as they had been put up. I mean, for you, the word responsibility has no place in this conversation at all?
There's a blatant hypocrisy here, an absolute blatant hypocrisy that anyone cares about two distinctly non-graphic in terms of seeing anything. Well,
that's you speaking
graphic.
As someone who watches a lot of these films.
No, that's speaking
as someone who doesn't.
It's a shocking video.
Have you watched it?
The one shown by the news company.
Have you watched the one he filmed himself?
No, I haven't watched that one.
But you want to make it available for anybody else to watch?
If anybody, it's an adult's choice, isn't it?
Michael Wolff, have you watched the film that the murderer himself shot?
I actually have. I have watched it.
And yet you don't want anyone else to see it?
I don't want myself to have seen it.
Why do you watch it?
Sometimes, I mean, it's very, it's the nature of these, of the medium. It pops up, there it is. And as I watched it, I thought I am lesser for having seen this.
So why didn't you turn it off?
I did turn it off. I mean,
but
it doesn't last that long.
You just said you watched it. You just said you watched it.
Well, gentlemen, I think the fact that the man who hasn't watched it wants everybody else to see it, and the man who has watched it doesn't want
anybody to see anything.
To be able to see it is a fitting point at which to thank you both for your time.